Part 3. Dracula arrives in England. After many terrifying days inside Castle Dracula, Jonathan Harker finally found a way to escape. Weak and exhausted, he traveled through the mountains until he reached a small village. The people there helped him and took care of him. Jonathan was alive, but he was deeply changed. The young lawyer who had traveled to Transylvania with confidence was no longer the same person. He had discovered a terrible secret. Count Dracula was not a normal man. He was a vampire. Meanwhile, far away from the mountains of Transylvania, a new chapter of the story was beginning in England. In the city of London, Jonathan's fiancée, Mina Murray, was waiting for news from him. Mina was a kind and intelligent young woman. She was worried because Jonathan had been gone for a long time. She often looked at his letters and wondered what had happened to him. During this time, Mina visited her friend Lucy Westenra. Lucy was a beautiful and cheerful young woman who lived with her family near the sea. The two friends enjoyed spending time together. However, strange events were about to change their lives forever. One night, a terrible storm arrived on the coast of England. The waves were enormous. The wind was powerful. A mysterious ship appeared near the shore. The ship looked abandoned. Nobody understood how it had arrived. When people investigated, they found something frightening. The entire crew had disappeared. There was only one survivor. A strange story was written in the ship's records. The captain had described unusual events during the journey. He wrote that something mysterious was happening on the ship. The sailors disappeared one by one. Nobody knew why. At the end of the journey, the captain was found dead. The ship carried only one important object: several large wooden boxes filled with strange earth. The same type of boxes that Jonathan had seen inside Castle Dracula. Nobody knew it yet, but Count Dracula had arrived in England. He was now free to begin his plan. Soon after the ship arrived, strange things started happening. Lucy Westenra began having unusual experiences. She started walking in her sleep. Mina noticed that Lucy looked tired and weak. One night, Mina followed Lucy outside. She found her friend near an old cemetery. Lucy was sitting alone under the moonlight. Mina quickly took her back home. But the next morning, Lucy looked even weaker. She had 2 small marks on her neck. Nobody understood what had happened. Doctors tried to help her. They searched for an explanation. But Lucy's condition continued to get worse. Then a famous doctor named Van Helsing arrived. Van Helsing was intelligent, experienced, and knew about mysterious illnesses. When he examined Lucy, he became concerned. He understood that something unusual was happening. "There is a mystery here," he said. "We must discover the truth before it is too late." Van Helsing stayed with Lucy and tried everything he could to save her. But Dracula was powerful. Every night he returned. Every night, Lucy became weaker. Finally, despite everyone's efforts, Lucy died. Her friends were devastated. But the horror did not end there. Soon, people began reporting strange events around London. Children disappeared for short periods of time. They spoke about seeing a mysterious woman in the darkness. The newspapers called her a strange creature of the night. Van Helsing realized the truth. Lucy was not simply gone. Dracula had transformed her into a vampire. The group decided that they had to stop Dracula. Jonathan Harker had returned to England and reunited with Mina. He shared everything he had learned about Castle Dracula. Now several people worked together. Jonathan Harker, Mina Murray, Dr. Van Helsing, and their friends. They studied Dracula's movements. They searched for his boxes of earth. They followed his path across London. They knew that the vampire needed his special earth to rest. If they could destroy his hiding places, they could weaken him. The group finally discovered Dracula's location. They entered his hiding place and destroyed many of the boxes. The Count became desperate. He knew his secret had been discovered. Dracula escaped and returned toward Transylvania. Jonathan and the others followed him. They traveled across countries and mountains. They knew they had one final chance. The journey was dangerous. The weather was terrible. but they continued because they understood something important. Dracula was not only a monster, he was a danger to everyone around him. Finally, they reached the castle, the same dark castle where Jonathan had once been trapped. The final battle began. Dracula tried to escape, but the group surrounded him. As the sun began to set, Jonathan moved quickly. With courage and determination, he attacked Dracula. The vampire fell. The curse was finally broken. The darkness that had followed Dracula for centuries came to an end. Years later, Jonathan and Mina remembered everything that had happened. They knew that evil could hide behind a beautiful appearance. They learned that courage, friendship, and trust were stronger than fear. The story of Count Dracula became a legend, a story about mystery, a story about darkness, and a story about the power of people who stand together against danger. Thank you for listening to this English story. Remember, every story is an opportunity to learn. Every new word brings you closer to understanding the world. Keep practicing English, keep listening, and keep learning through stories.